Okay, thanks, Lana. All right, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. This is the regular meeting of the Manassas Park Governing Body, August 18th. We have an agenda before us. I think this represents any changes that have happened. Are there any other modifications?
The only amendment to it is the addition of 6E, repairs to the fire truck.
Okay, so that's on this one, but was an item added since last week?
Right.
Okay.
Anyone who's looking at the public agenda.
Okay. Any other modifications to the agenda? All right, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. If we could all rise for a moment of silence, and then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're up to item 3, citizen time. Anybody signed up to address the governing body?
Let's see a sign-up sheet.
Anybody in the audience for citizen time? Okay, we'll move on to item 4, public hearing. We have item 4A, public hearing residences at Dominion Reserve, CPA 1315 and rezoning 1316, waiver A and B applications postponed to September 15th. Do we need to open a public hearing?
No, you're just going to postpone the public hearing to a
postponed?
date certain of September 15th, but
Okay,
we do need a motion.
Okay, is there a motion to postpone that public hearing to September 15th?
I'll make the motion to postpone the public hearing to September 15th.
And I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes,
Please.
they are requesting a vote the same day following the public hearing. I would oppose the vote at the same meeting.
I don't have any objections to that. We have typically not, voted on the same day as public hearing, so we could probably have the vote of the following meeting.
Which would be October.
First.
Well, if I can just interject on that, the reason they're asking for it has to do with contractual stuff. If it's possible, could you hold a special meeting later in September to do that? Something to consider. As we do, that's the 15th is right smack in the middle of the month. So if you're willing to do it, a week later or 2 weeks later.
Sure, I don't have any problem.
As long as it's not the same meeting, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Why didn't we do this on the first?
First, because we had to pull out a different component associated with.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 4B, public hearing for off-street parking and loading. Darren Coffey. Hi, Darren.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Ms. Watson and I have been working with the Planning Commission and a parking committee over the past several months to look at revising the parking and loading section of the zoning ordinance. As I tell people all the time, zoning ordinances are more like art than science. They're never going to be perfect, and they should always be periodically reviewed and amended. And so I think that the revisions that are before you for your consideration are a much improved version over what exists, but it's not going to be perfect, and it's still going to need to be tweaked from time to time as you move forward. One of the amenities that this has is a stated purpose. Right up front, one sentence added just to say, hey, why do we have these regulations? This is why we have them. And then there are other additions and clarifications with regard to things such as shared parking, residential garages, front yards, and other surfacing, other types of issues that the zoning administrator and planning commission have run into in the past, sometimes the city attorney. And this is an opportunity for us to bring clarity to the ordinance where perhaps there wasn't as much previously. We've also been able to add some diagrams, which can be useful. And when people say, what do you mean by this? Well, this is what we mean by this. And then the standards themselves, 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit, or 1.75 or whatever. And the copy that's before you shows you what is being proposed to be deleted and added. We wanted to be very clear on what the changes were. This is based on the unique nature of Manassas Park in certain situations. It's based on best practices, research, and methodology, some comparative analysis with other jurisdictions in some cases, working with the parking committee, going through their questions, presenting to the planning commission, and working very closely with staff. So again, if there's something that isn't comfortable, then we talk about it, tweak it, and move on. But generally, where I think there was a feeling where you were maybe a little bit underparked, not enough spaces, we've been able to tweak it to require more spaces. And perhaps where maybe you've been overparked, where maybe there are seas of asphalt, there's lots of empty parking, we were able to bring those standards down, and so that we don't see that as we move forward. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. As I said, there's no kind of magic to it, but there is a methodology to it. And I know the vice mayor had submitted some comments, and I think there were 3 of them, and 2 of them were kind of housekeeping things that have been addressed. The other one is on page 9, D5, with mixed uses. And we're recommending that we keep that language. The concern was that it might open it up to some negotiation or gamesmanship on the part of the developer, and that is definitely not the intent of this. The intent of this is to say, look, no 2 mixed-use projects are going to be alike. And depending on the mixture of uses that are proposed in the site plan or in the rezoning, depends on how much parking the zoning administrator is going to request as part of that project. And so what you want to do, depending on that mixture of uses, is proportionately gauge the parking so that you don't have too much parking or too little parking. And so that's where the proportional language comes from. It's proportional to the unique mixture of uses that would be as part of that application. Otherwise, we're not aware of any other concerns or questions, but I'd be happy to do my best to answer any that you might have this evening. And then, of course, I believe we're here to open a public hearing and hear if there are any citizens that might have some comments as well.
Yeah, so do you want me to, why don't I go ahead and open a public hearing, and so declare the public hearing open, and then it sounds like there's nobody here, so we should go ahead and close the public hearing, I think. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, then we can have some
Discussions.
afterwards. So motion and a second, any discussion on closing the public hearing? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. So we're out of public hearing, and then I think Darren's asked for any questions that we have.
I may have some questions and comments. I will submit them in writing for subsequent entry into the formal record, the written record for the next meeting.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, I just had a general observation. Maybe I don't understand this one. You know, looking on page number 5, where we have, you know, looking at the table for use type, city center, all other areas. When we're referring to parking spaces, you know, 0.67 parking space, you know, like it doesn't make any sense to me. You know, you can't park, you know, 0.67 of a car. So maybe I'm not understanding this one. If you can explain to me, that'll be great.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So a residential human care facility, for example, let's say an assisted living facility, let's say it has 60 rooms or living units. So you would say 60 times 0.67, whatever that comes up to, 37 point whatever spaces, and you'd require 38 spaces, or however that. So that's how you do that math. So yeah, you would never build 2/3 of a space, but you don't want to require 1 space per living unit necessarily, because most of the folks that are in those living units aren't driving. For example, they do have people that come to look after them, but they're not all coming every day at the same time. And so you want less than 1 space per living unit, which typically accommodates the staff that's working there along with visitors. When you get to nursing or convalescent care, for example, you require even less spaces because they're even more immobile, and there's less visitation overall. So it's just, that's kind of the methodology behind it.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No other comments, but I will review this and get back to you on that. One comment for Vanessa. Vanessa, have you done any use case analysis, like when with these zoning ordinances? Have we tested with, any use cases of our current residents or any prospective future residents? How it's going to impact them?
I know you, in terms of some case analysis for how this would play out, I think Ms. Rochelle had asked you some questions throughout this process of what about this, how would it apply to this facility, how would it apply to that facility. So I think you have looked at the square footage of existing facilities and the uses, and you've done some drive-bys of parking areas to see how well utilized they are or they aren't. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I've done, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I could just you're wanting to know how it's going to impact existing residents and existing businesses, or future residents and future businesses?
Both.
Well, it won't impact the existing ones because they'll all be grandfathered. This is a zoning ordinance change, so we're not going to be able to go and say, okay, look, use over here, you need to go ahead and increase your parking spaces. Now, if they, in a shopping center, though, if they come in and they're changing their mix, then she would look at the new guidelines here to determine whether or not they could do that with the existing parking spaces. So it's only prospective. Anything new that they come in and require some sort of city approval, that's when it would kick in.
Yes, there won't be a burden on existing uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So from the date of adoption forward, these standards would apply to anything new that came in, but it's not retroactive. And I apologize if I misunderstood your question, but we have done some kind of truth testing to say, hey, this is the standard that we're recommending. Does it make sense to this nursing daycare over here or this grocery store over there? She's done some of that analysis as well, just to make sure that we are comfortable with the recommendations moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, if I might interject, a lot of we worked together, and Darren was using what we refer to as his analysis was best practices, and what I did was I went around and looked at a number of different jurisdictions to compare, and so we kind of hit it from both angles just to make sure it was fair and balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got a question for clarification. So you said some existing developments are grandfathered in. Does that include Dominion Reserve, Belmont Reserve and Dominion Crossing?
Anything that's been approved already, yes, it's going to be grandfathered in. If they come in for a change of some sort, then they would have to comply with the new regulations.
Okay.
So if the site plan's been approved, that site plan is under the old regulations.
Okay.
Or under the old requirements.
So how about for 8-acre park? And that
If the site plan's been approved on that one, right? Phase one, yeah. So phase two, when they come in for a site plan on that, it'll be subject to the new requirements.
Okay.
Okay. Just as a clarification, is the city center area, does that, Vanessa, refer specifically to the existing structure over there, or is city center a broader term here?
Broader.
So city center is not completely built out yet?
And Ms. Rochelle, what I would recommend, that was one of the comments I was going to make kind of separate, but the headings of city center and all other areas, it really should be the downtown mixed-use district, because because we're talking about the zoning ordinance, and so we really need to be addressing zoning districts. So it should say downtown mixed-use district and then all other zoning districts, or something like that to make that clear, but that's a good point.
Well, then, if that is the case, if it is not completely built out, 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit would not be enough. It has 1.5 and 1.75 for all other areas.
Well, the 1.5 would apply for all new multifamily dwelling units that are built in this downtown mixed-use district.
Right. And what I'm saying is I don't think that's enough.
Oh, okay.
That you need at least 2.
It should be at least the 1.75 for all other areas.
Well, and I don't mean to speak for you, but I think the idea of the downtown area was that it was supposed to be more urban, and that it was in urban areas they are somewhat constrained like that for parking because they're designed to encourage the use of VRE and other transportation.
I know we're trying to consider it urban, but it is not urban.
Well, I would
It
just
is-
say that is a perfectly legitimate discussion for the governing body to have. The methodology is exactly as Dean said. We're essentially not changing the current standard for the city center area or the downtown mixed-use district area, but we are bumping it up by half a parking space per unit for multifamily, mind you, in the rest of the city zoning districts. So, you know, that's the planning philosophy. There's a sound methodology behind it. If it doesn't suit the will of this governing body, then you just change it. Typically, 2 spaces per multifamily unit is considered a lot of parking. But that's, you know, methodology and theory versus what suits the city's comfort level.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I understand what Jeanette is saying, because we've had some issues where even single-family units have had 9 cars, and they're parking all over the streets. So you can't prevent them from parking. So we've had those kind of situations. But I don't have any additional comments.
So I guess next steps, we get comments like Jeanette's and Suhas's, like they'll have some coming, get comments to you. What's the next legislative action on this ordinance?
Well, the expectation was that you would vote on it at the next meeting.
Okay. If we have comments that change it, do we need to have another public hearing?
No, you would just address them at the next meeting. We've already closed the public hearing, so
Okay.
if people had issues, they would have come for you. But you don't have to vote the next one. You could come forward, you could discuss it, and then you could push off a vote to get the final product if you felt that
Pleasure of
was
the governing
necessary.
body. You
I
want to?
just got
So-
one more question. Just for the future, once we've passed this, can this be amended if we get a new development plan and it requires different types of off-street parking and more spaces, or can this be amended, and what's the process for doing that?
It's the same process. It's a zoning ordinance change, so it'd be the same thing. We'd advertise it. It'd have to go to the planning commission, and then it'd come here to you for another public hearing. So 2 separate public hearings.
And I think if we had a proposal that was out of compliance with it, a waiver process would be what they could propose to us to consider.
Right. I believe the waiver already allows for parking waiver, so I mean you would be able to do that.
Yeah, so we could get a request that we would consider, yes or no, and then that might spur us to make a change, to your point, and go through this process again of changing ordinance.
Okay.
But the problem is, we could not make it more restrictive.
We could,
We-
we could, but it would only be applicable to subsequent developments or changes.
But couldn't the developer come back to us and say, well, your code says 1.5, and you want us to do 1.75, and we can't do that.
Well,
We can be more lenient, but we can't be more restrictive, or am I misunderstanding that?
well, it depends. If we're talking about what Preston was talking about of actually changing this, then yes, you could make it more, require more parking spaces, but it would be an actual zoning ordinance change. If you're talking about a waiver process,
I'm talking about the waiver process.
yeah, the waiver process is a request by a landowner or an applicant for a waiver to benefit them in some way, and they have to show that generally meets the intent of the zoning ordinance for that district. I don't think that there's first they wouldn't need to seek a waiver for more spaces. They can always put more spaces. And matter of fact, all the projects that we've had, Vanessa's been successful in getting them to put more spaces than are needed. Primarily because they know that if they put more spaces, that kind of makes it less or more likely that you guys will vote for it. So, I mean, that's in their best interest to do that.
So essentially, a waiver is a one-way street for the developer.
Right. Governing body can't
Okay,
you have a waiver for,
But
Okay.
it's our discretion to approve or not.
right.
and there's no waiver required, though, to increase the number of spaces that they're putting in. So if they wanted to put in 2 per unit, they could. It's not, they wouldn't need a waiver to do that. This is a minimum number.
Okay, so to clarify for the public hearing, we do not have to have a public hearing if we, say, for example, decide to adjust or tweak the parking spaces in city center, hypothetically.
If you're going to make a zoning ordinance change, yes, you would.
You're talking about between now and the time we vote.
Correct.
Oh, no, right, yeah. So what you have right now, you're saying if you decide you wanted to make 2 right now?
Or, no, 1.75 instead of 1.5, hypothetically.
Okay, well, we'll just say it now that that's what you're considering doing. I mean,
Before we adopt, right? So
right.
What I want to get back to
Don't have
is...
to have another public hearing,
What
no.
I want to get back to is, let me circle back to that. Do we want to provide comments and then discuss September 1 and then vote September 15th?
Mhm.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
That would be acceptable. Would, if there were changes made, then would there have to be another public hearing?
No. I think what
there
you're
would
saying is
not.
if
Okay.
No.
if we generate dialogue and discuss it at September 1, as long as
Right.
we announce how we're changing it, we could vote on it on
Right.
the 15th, and that would not require a public hearing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
If that help?
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we've gotten no interest at all from people showing up here to discuss this, so.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a case where people were showing up and they were very upset, I would recommend you just continue the public hearing so that you could have more dialogue with the public at that point, but
Yeah.
nobody showed up. So there's obviously no real interest in it.
Okay.
Should we include language, Dean, that states that there is a waiver process to this?
Well, it's elsewhere within the code. So when somebody comes forward and they want to rezone their property, they're going to scour the zoning ordinance to find out everything they can do, and Vanessa's going to help them. That's kind of what land use attorneys and planners get paid to do, is to kind of dig through zoning ordinances to figure out what you can do. So I don't think it's necessary to say, you know, you can get this waived if you want,
Okay.
because it's already in the code elsewhere.
Okay, so, meeting is September 1. Comments, 28th? What would you like?
As soon as you can get comments, I would like to have them so that I can have a dialogue with Darren, Mr. Coffey, and Dean, and we'll, be able
Okay,
to
so
bring
shoot.
you back another.
Why don't we shoot for a week from tonight?
That would be lovely.
That would give you a week to take care of. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. All right, item 5A, Kim, you want me to share this good information, or are
Yeah,
you? Okay.
It's just an informational item.
Okay.
Our finance department received a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for our comprehensive annual financial report.
Finance director's been doing some good work, it sounds like. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for the good work there.
Yeah, Gary, thank you.
It's a nice recognition. It says, I think somewhere it said here is the,
Fourth or fifth?
uh,
Fourth or fifth?
well, I was going to, it's the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, significant accomplishment by government. So thanks for keeping us clean there, Gary.
Yeah.
Then item, Sorry?
Clarification. Yeah, in addition to congratulating Gary on his good work, I just wanted to clarify that this award was for the quality of the financial report and is not any judgment on the financial condition of the city. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
okay. We're down to consent agenda. What I'd like to do is call for a motion in a second. I know, Councilman Rushel, you have a couple of comments, so if we could do that in discussion, if that's okay.
Yes.
So we're down to item 6, consent agenda, which consists of approval of minutes July 15th, consider approval of MW COG invoice for $11,016. For Public Works, the Berkeley Group payment, stormwater historical data, $12,210. Also for Public Works, Branscombe paving, Manassas Drive 2-inch mill and overlay, $389,820. Great timing on that, getting it all squared away. Fire Department repairs to fire truck, $13,829.39. So if I could get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Does
And then we'll
Sorry.
discuss if you want to make
Okay.
any, so if I can get a second.
Second.
Okay, second.
Yeah.
And then I think, Ms. Fisher, you wanted to comment on the minutes of July 15th.
Right, there was just one small addition regarding the railroad quiet zone. I believe I also asked that if there were any alternative safety measures involved in the study, such as public education, photo enforcement, or other. And I believe the indicated answer was no. And Calvin's here.
So you're just asking?
Yeah,
if
I think you asked for clarification in a minute. I recall the question and that
Okay.
answer, so
And do you
I,
recall the answer
They're fine
also?
with
yeah, I recall the answer. So
Okay. And-
as one member, I have no problem with making sure the minutes are updated to reflect that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any problem either.
And I have two quick comments before you
Okay.
vote on this, too. The first is on the Branscombe paving, Manassas Drive. Just a quick comment that went out earlier today via email, that project is actually not able to start tomorrow due to the projected weather. It'll be starting on Monday.
Okay.
And my second comment is on the item that was added, 6E, repairs to the fire truck. That total will actually be $302 less than what you see there because they added tax in their original quote, which we will not be paying.
So
Okay, so it's gonna be-
$13,527.39 for item 6E. My math right?
I believe it is.
Okay. All right, so a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Just a comment.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Jay and Chris Simmons, I really appreciate, like, the paving work on Euclid Avenue, perfect timing, the roads look good. Just wanted to, express my gratitude, for doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good timing, just in time. What's that? Perfect. All right, item 7A, Fire Department, consider disposition of Quint. Chief back there?
So you all remember this subject came up a couple months ago, and this is the final recommendation on this issue. We did finally hear back from the federal government, who has stated via email, so we do have it in writing, that we can move forward with the sale of this equipment as long as the proceeds from the sale go towards a new like piece of equipment. And just wanted to point out that we do have in our CIP listed as a high priority a replacement fire engine, and it is our intent in the FY17 budget to include that capital item in there. The repairs that you actually just approved are one of many continued repairs to the engine that needs to be replaced. So, do you have anything else you want to add?
There was some information added to your packet tonight, which is really a repeat of the PowerPoint and the presentation that was done on May 5th for any review needs. And then if you look at the last page of that handout, you'll see there that the top picture, that's the Quint, which is what is being recommended to be sold. And it's projected to sell for $250,000. And you see the staffing need of 8 if it's actually functioning as an engine and a ladder truck. So that was one of the challenges that we've had since we've gotten that vehicle, is trying to increase our staffing. And what we're looking to purchase is either a standard fire truck, which is the second picture, which is about $650,000. Staffing need for that vehicle is 4, or a fire truck, Sky Boom, which gives us the capabilities to have elevated master streams and a ladder for emergency egress. So it's very similar to the Quint. So we're considering that as well, and cost of that is about $750,000, but the staffing need for that is 4 as well. So we can stay pretty much with where we currently are with our staffing with that vehicle. So that's what we would be reviewing and looking to purchase.
Okay, so the quick recap, we're not getting the right use out of the Quint. We're struggling to staff it at our current staffing levels. The right
Correct.
thing is to realize some value and sort of downsize, if you will, to something that we can staff and still allows us to meet. In no circumstances is our capacity or safety of the city or citizens diminished at all. It's simply the ability to deploy a particular piece of apparatus.
That's correct.
Okay.
There's no reduction in service by doing that.
Okay. And then I think the next steps would be, I guess, we probably have to have a public hearing for, I guess I'm kind of looking to Dean, maybe as a public hearing for, what's the term, when you surplus sale of equipment, or do we need?
Yeah, honestly, I don't have a ready answer
Okay.
for you. I have to look
Okay.
and see exactly, but.
Okay. I guess that's likely the next legislative action, right? Do we need to vote on anything tonight, or?
We would like guidance as to whether you want us to move forward with this, and then we'll come up with whatever the proper procurement procedure is. And
Okay,
take
let me
this.
go ahead. Any discussion or feedback?
Yeah,
please,
Chief,
Preston.
which one is the mini quint?
That's the last picture.
Okay.
If you look at
Last page.
the bottom picture, if you look at the top of the fire truck, you'll see what looks like a little bit of a ladder
Yeah.
on top there. Similar to a ladder truck, but a lot smaller scale. What that's designed to be, what we would most likely purchase if we got that would be a 55-foot ladder. And it's used for emergency egress. So it's not really designed as a ladder truck for firefighters to go up and down and get on a roof and all this kind of stuff, but it's designed that the operator of the truck can get that ladder over to a window or a balcony at a higher levels than what we can currently do, because our longest ladder on a standard fire truck is 24 feet. So this basically gives us twice the length to be able to get up to rescue someone, and then provide some elevated streams similar to what a ladder truck does. So this is very close to functions that the Quint would provide.
Which one would you prefer, the standard truck or the mini quint?
Well, we're looking at that and trying to evaluate what our current future needs of the city are. Most likely, it's going to be that vehicle, the Sky Boom, because it gives us that capability. We're limited in ladder trucks being able to get into the city in a reasonable time. That gives us some capabilities, particularly if you start getting into areas such as Park Station. If you've ever gone in there, I mean, it's just tall buildings that are real close together. It's difficult to get down in there, and you got somebody that's on a third, fourth floor type of thing, having the ability to get a ladder up where a firefighter can go up and help get somebody out of a window or off a balcony, or even if the fire is located up there in a bedroom or what have you, being able to extend the boom and get water and get a quick knockdown on the fire. With all that lightweight construction, I mean, it's been a couple of significant fires that have occurred in our area just the last couple of days,
Yeah,
with
I saw
townhomes
that.
and those kind of things.
True.
It doesn't take much. If you have a fire going with the lightweight construction, it's going to spread very quickly. So having those capabilities to rescue people and get some water on the fire at the upper levels very quick is important. So I would suspect that that's what our recommendation is going to be.
Okay. Now, in terms of the timing of this, you want to sell it when we already have the mini quint, or you want to sell it first and then already have the mini quint the Sky Boom in procurement?
Well, we would like to, sell the Quint now, sell it as soon as we can. It depreciates $50,000 every year, and actually it's going to be even higher on that because it's in its second lifespan. It's 11 years old. Sooner we can purchase, sell the Quint, we'll get more value out of that, and then hold the money. We're looking at a year and a half before we would get the new vehicle in. It's about 6 months of preparation work to go through the specifications, who we're going to purchase from, and then put the order in. And once the order's in, it's about a year for it to be built.
Wow.
So, we're looking at about a year and a half. So, to hold on to the Quint where we really don't use it, it's about $20,000 in maintenance costs to, for required maintenance and those kind of things. I don't see that as a value. We're better off selling it now, holding that money for the new vehicle.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting us know about this, and even in your previous presentation, so we can keep this in mind in our capital budget. Because this is a priority. It's the safety of our citizens. So thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, I have an answer for
Yeah.
that. The public hearing is only required if your value exceeds $2 million and you're selling it to lease it back.
Okay.
So we would not need to have a public hearing.
Okay,
You would just declare it surplus and authorize the sale.
okay. So that would be a later prepared activity. We're not doing that tonight, right? I think tonight what you're looking for is governing body's acceptance of the recommendation to move forward with the sale of the Quint and preparation of anything that we need to do that.
Sure.
Is that accurate?
And if that is the will of the governing body, then we would probably try to go ahead and have a prepared action for you.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
My understanding is it's not really surplus property, right?
Right, I understand.
You're
So-
you're selling it to somebody who actually wants to buy it,
Yeah,
right?
well, so
we're not gonna be-
I guess what I'm asking is, are you looking for a motion today that would say, okay, do it, and then there's a future action? Or does just our motion to say, do it, light up, and you guys go do whatever you got to do?
Yeah, you just need a concurrence. They can go ahead and present or prepare everything to come forward with an actual proposal to get voted on. You just need to give them
Okay.
the okay to move forward.
Okay,
and do that.
so then I guess I'd be looking for a motion to accept the fire chief's recommendation to begin the process to sell the Quint and replace it with a to-be-determined fire apparatus.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Can we do a little research on trying to get another grant? I mean, the grant for the first fire truck was, what, $500,000? And if we get something similar, that'd be great towards the cost of the new fire truck, if there's anything out there.
I can look into that. I don't know if that's going to be an option because we're actually, the majority of, the cost of the original vehicle was $500,000. That was grant funded. So the majority of what we would sell it for is grant money anyway. I don't know that we'd be able to roll that grant money over plus get an additional grant for something like that. But I will take a look at that and see
Okay.
if that's possible.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. We'll look for a future action on this one to move forward with it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 8, new business, 8A, City Council CTSI AV system upgrade, $16,832.41.
This is Land's item.
Okay, so in a nutshell, we've had a lot of logistical issue, a lot of technical issues with the AV system here in the City Council chambers. And it can't be repaired because of its age, so this is a recommendation to really replace the system with a new one and get it installed. The invoice amount, $16,832.41. So
And it's completely reimbursable.
By Comcast?
Is that correct?
completely
Comcast?
reimbursable by Comcast?
Yeah.
Yes, it's part of the franchise agreement.
Even though it's over 10,000, has enough rolled over that it's complete, all the funds are completely there?
We have not used this particular fund in a couple of years, so there should be money
Yeah.
there.
Are they going to provide you with training on this, or they're just going to install it and?
It's
you go.
actually an upgrade to what I already have.
Okay.
The equipment that they're going to give us, it's not going to be new equipment. It's
Oh.
going to be an upgraded version of what I already have.
Okay.
So, but they will give me training if I need it, but unless they change it a whole lot, that won't be necessary.
Okay.
Lena, I had a question. I am definitely in support of, upgrading this audiovisual equipment, but I actually was looking at, upgrading it, at least 10 times more. What I was thinking is, as part of this, do we want to really consider and upgrade our audiovisual system, including the cameras and also, the recording and broadcasting it, on the web? I've had people asking me if we could actually record the city council meetings and then put the audio as well as the video on the city website or some of the plays. So I was looking at, a system which could do that. That is one. The second thing is, that camera there in the corner, instead of it being in the corner, can we also move it here somewhere in the middle so that, people can actually see Jeanette and Preston, because I've had people say that, they cannot see them. So
It's hard to get all all of you across.
Correct. So that's why I was thinking, like if we want to go ahead and then like we do the system upgrade, so we want to like take it several notches up and look at like a complete upgrade.
I would love to do that, but the equipment I'm talking about right now, one part of it, you're having problems here now. That is part of the problem. One piece of equipment, if the other piece of equipment goes down, I cannot send anything across Channel 23, nothing at all until we get the second piece of equipment.
Okay.
I mean, you're taking a chance. I mean, if you're willing to do that, I can get you bids and proposals, for the other part.
Do you think they would be additive to this, or there could be an economy of scale in the cost? I get that. But you think that, in other words, if we move forward with this, do you think it would preclude us from sort of expanding?
If we move forward with this, I think what we may end up happening is this piece of equipment will become redundant. If we were to move ahead with something more
comprehensive.
Yeah.
And you could look at a third camera if you like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like the vendor whom we are talking to, like maybe if we can ask them, instead of just upgrading that one piece of equipment, would they give us a comprehensive solution, which will take into account all these new requirements?
I can do that. Like the cameras are very expensive.
Okay. This camera, maybe we could just move it in the middle.
I can ask CTSI.
Okay.
I'll get you a cost on that. Yes.
Maybe about the doorway or something, if we can. I think that'll probably help. And plus, if we have any additional features about recording the audio and video, I think that'll greatly benefit us.
The audio, you're talking about when it goes out to the public, that is a Comcast. We're trying to work on that right now, but they keep running into issues with that.
Okay. What about recording the audio like in the MP3 format or something, which people could be playing it on the internet?
I can ask on that.
Yeah. Same
We've
thing.
been trying to do that, and I know Parks and Rec had tried to, get it so we could put it on the website, but they had not been able to do that.
Okay.
But that is something I will look into.
Okay. Thank you, Lana.
Okay.
Is it okay with the governing body to take a look at possibly a more comprehensive solution per Suhas's recommendation?
Do we have a workaround if something happens and, as Lena said, it goes down like a tape recorder, then we put the tape on the website or some kind of a workaround?
Well, that was what Suhas was talking about, being able to put just the video side, the audio side of it, but I have not been able to. We have been working on that, but at this point, I do not have that capability. I'm still trying to do that.
Well, I meant some kind of a workaround that would, if everything failed, even a handheld tape record the meeting, digitize it, put it on the website.
No, the piece of equipment I'm talking about in my office, if it goes down, then your Channel 23 and 43 are blank.
Okay.
I cannot do anything with that.
Okay.
Janet, what she is referring to is the video broadcast on Channel 23, when it keeps, broadcasting the recorded city council meetings. So I think one piece of equipment has failed. There is only one which is currently operating. I will make a motion to approve to proceed with it for the presented amount, but Lana, if you can ask it, then you can come back and we'll change the dollar amount. Is that okay with you?
So I think our approval will be to move forward with this spec, right? So
Right.
if she goes out, you're saying if she goes out and gets something back before she executes it,
Then we can withdraw
back
this
and
one. Yeah.
redo it? Are you okay with that sort of?
That's fine, but I think you need these two pieces of equipment no matter what you do.
Yeah, and I think
An
that's,
upgraded version.
Okay,
I don't think that would change the cost of it.
yeah, and I think that's why you're recommending to move ahead.
Sure.
And just if you find out there's a more integrated solution, you want to bring that back before you execute this, that's great. It sounds like there won't be. Sounds like you have to buy these. So, okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? That motion carries unanimously. Item 8B, police station roof repairs.
Yeah, this is a quote to fix a bunch of leaks in the police station roof.
$11,925 to fix leaks at the police station. Pleasure of the governing body.
I'll make the motion to approve the police station roof repairs.
Is there a second?
A second?
Motion is second. Any other discussion? Yeah, please.
It appears that the warranty work did not hold. Do we have any recourse back to the installing contractor? Because it seems that someone needs to be responsible for the ineffective work that was done.
Though there was actually the warranty contractor, I called them out to take a look at the issues. They did find a couple of issues that were defects in the original installation or in the roofing material, and they did repair those. There was one place where someone had obviously, post-construction, put large slits in the membrane. They would not warranty that work. It was not a defect in the membrane. It was obviously human error, someone cutting material there. Some of these proposed repairs are outside of the scope of work of the original roofing contractor. The original roofing contractor's scope of work stopped at the terminus strip, and a lot of these leaks are associated with the capping on the top of the parapet walls. So there are pieces of work in here, and some of the work that you see spelled out in here was emergency repair material that the warranty contractor says voids their warranty. It was not applied by them, it was applied by others, and they will not cover a warranty on repairs made by other contractors, or other people. So a lot of these repairs have already been considered by the warranty contractor, and it was outside of their scope, or it was human error that actually voided their warranty. I've made the argument, brought them out, and I've had now 5 separate roofing contractors take a look at this work, and this is a sort of a combined scope of all of their different recommendations that we've issued to these 3 to give us a quote on. And we actually had HomeChem as well, a 4th contractor, look at it, but with HomeChem's current situation, we can't consider their estimate. So after walking the roof with the warranty contractor and looking at the issues, I don't think that they're not trying to get out of their responsibility. They did make repairs that were obviously defects or installation, failures, but there are areas that are not even in the roof that are covered in this. They're just to fix leaks that are building leaks in the building construction, and then some of these are repairs that were made by others that they won't warranty. So
even though it was under warranty, another contractor came in and did work on an area that was warranted by
we
the
had
original?
Some emergency repairs. There was a couple of different times when there was a lot of water coming in. One was a big chiller leak, and then there was some big rainstorms where water was coming in, and people went in and did repairs that now the contractor that did the original install will not warranty. It will not cover. It was someone else's work. So
I was just wondering if we had any recourse at all.
Yeah, if we had such, I would have. Before I brought all these other contractors in to look, I brought the original contractor in, and we walked the entirety of all 3 levels of roofing there, and they did make repairs. They did do what they were willing to do, and I actually asked them for a quote to cover to do the rest, and they never got back to me with the numbers. So since that time, I have visited several other contractors, and we've put together a scope. It's been a long process to try and determine what is actually causing these leaks, and it's not, a lot of it isn't actually roofing. A lot of this is building caulk, the parapet walls, the cap on the parapet walls, things that the original roofing contractor had no role in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8C, Fire Department grant, purchase of the Lucas chest compression system, $32,053.24.
This was actually approved in the FY16 capital budget, and it's for the purchase of these 2 chest compression devices for the fire department.
Okay, pleasure of the governing body.
So moved.
A second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8D, Public Works consider approval of amendment to stormwater ordinance.
Okay, back when, in last July, we enacted a stormwater ordinance. It was mandated by the state that we enact a comprehensive stormwater erosion and sediment control ordinance to become the VSMP authority, the Virginia Stormwater Management Permit Authority, which means that we review stormwater applications for state general permits. We become the review authority. In that, when we were creating the ordinance, we took recommendations from DEQ to adopt their fee schedule, as in that we would not be responsible for constantly modifying our fee schedule by referencing theirs. As the state fee schedule changed, so would ours. Unfortunately, when they made the recommendations and we submitted our ordinance for review, the state fee schedules were not available. Theirs were coming online. So in a recent review of our fee schedule and our ordinance versus the state fee schedules, one of their fee schedules, they have 3, one of them was not referenced. So in order for us to be able to collect all the fees that the city is due for our role in reviewing these stormwater permits, we need to adopt this extra fee schedule. And that's the ordinance change you see before you is simply that, adopting the third, not having just 2 fee schedules, but all 3 state fee schedules.
Kind of an administrative correction almost.
Yeah.
Governing body's pleasure?
I'll make the motion, but I do have a question.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second discussion?
Okay, so you said, like, I mean, it would impact our ability to collect fees for certain services. Can you elaborate on what services and what are the fees and who would be collected from?
These 3 fee schedules represent the different fees that the state collects, and therefore when we are the review authority, we collect whenever someone submits an application for a general construction permit. In order to do that, they have to submit their erosion and sediment control stormwater plan to the city. And this fee schedule that is prescribed here gives a fee for the review based on acreage of the site, and we collect it from the applicant. In other words, if you want to come into the city and build a development, you submit your stormwater management plan to us for review, and this fee schedule is the one that's based on acreage, and so therefore we collect fees for our review based on the acreage of your site that you want to develop.
Okay, so are we not collecting those fees right now?
We haven't had any. Since we enacted the ordinance, we haven't issued any. The major projects in the city right now were all either issued, they got permits from the state prior to July 1st of 2014, or we haven't issued the permit yet, so.
Okay.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8E, also Public Works. It's like roofing is the winner on the agenda. Bid for City Hall roof, $198,900.
Yes, the bid that you all had previously approved, the contractor had to pull out, and we did receive in writing from him his withdrawal from that. And so this represents the third highest bidder. The second highest bidder, I'm sorry, the second lowest. The second lowest bidder would have been unable to start in a timely manner. So this number is from the third lowest.
Governing body's pleasure?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8F, Parks and Rec Community Center Furniture.
This was also approved in the FY16 capital budget, and it is tables and chairs for the community center, replacement tables and chairs.
In the amount of $11,854.77.
Yes.
Pleasure of the governing body.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? That motion carries unanimously. We're through the main agenda to the manager's report.
Okay, I'm trying to beef this report up a little bit now for you guys. We've had several discussions about, you wanting additional project updates and recaps of non-confidential items discussed via email. So I've just got a list of things to go over with you and for the citizens to hear also. As you know, we've reinstituted the morning extended care program at Parks and Recreation, so that is now available again for citizens if they need to drop their kids off before school. We've had some discussion about additional improvements at Signal Bay Water Park and the possibility of repurposing of the volleyball area. We had talked about a spray park in that area, which was about $150,000, and then we talked about a smaller misting area at around $50,000, and both of those seemed too much to spend at this point. So we are looking at a possibility of something under $10,000, which would include a shade structure and additional picnic tables that we could also use as additional rentable area, specifically for birthday parties and other things like that.
Question?
Mm-hmm.
Even at under 10,000, where would the funds come from?
Once we identify that, I'll let you know before we do anything on it. I think there are a couple of different places it could come from, depending on specifically how much money it was. We've had some savings in other areas in Parks and Rec. We also have some funding in buildings and grounds. So I would need to take a look at the budget and get you a specific line item number. But we won't move forward until we determine that there is funding there. And if that's what you guys even want to do. The next item I wanted to mention is September 8th, we will have an economic development manager coming on full-time, and we restructured some positions in Parks and Rec in order to get that position, to get funding for that position available. I am also going to have that person focus on grant writing, and I did send you guys a list of the other items that I'll have them start working on. The gentleman that will be joining us in that capacity his name is Ryan Gandy, and he is currently serving as the Director of Community Services in Dumfries. He has a master's degree in public administration, very bright young man, so I look forward to introducing you to him. IT, we had an IT committee meeting earlier today, and they gave us some progress updates on where they are. They are doing server installations now. They've gotten the spam filter switched over, so now you might remember that we were locked out of the other ones, and we have been for several months. We now do have the ability to control what comes in and out. So hopefully things with email will get better. We have 2 new hires coming on in the fire department. Once we bring them on, fire department will be fully staffed. The Department of Social Services is also fully staffed now, with the exception of the director position, which we're holding off on a little bit longer. Also, our Social Services Department, I would like to give them a great big kudos. They now have no Medicaid applications that are over 90 days overdue, which is an incredible improvement for us. And also, I mean, that is not common in the state either. So they really are doing a fantastic job right now. Just wanted to point that out. I mentioned earlier the paving along Manassas Drive has been pushed back. It will not be starting tomorrow. It will be starting on Monday, and resident notifications were hand-delivered today to that effect, and it'll go out via social media and email and all of those routes as well. Office closures. City Hall will be closed to customers in its entirety on Election Day because it is a new polling location, and on September 8th, 9th, and 10th, the Water Department, the Treasurer's Office, and the Commissioner of Revenue's office will be closed to customers so that staff can receive some essential training in Keystone. So those dates are advertised on our website and everywhere else too. Just want folks to keep that in mind. Bills for personal property tax will go out the first week in September, and those are due October 5th. The community center is shutting down for its annual cleaning and maintenance on Sunday the 23rd, and it will reopen Saturday the 29th. Parks and Rec is working with Potomac Health and George Mason currently on the modular health clinic grant, and we're currently working on an RFP for that. So hopefully we'll see some motion on that project soon. Some of you may have noticed periodically food trucks at Signal Bay Water Park. We did implement a food truck leasing program down there, and we have regular food trucks that show up down there from both Guapos and Bella Vita. And there are other opportunities available for anyone who is interested. And I think that's it.
All right.
Okay.
First, I just wanted to comment on the Signal Bay Water Park, that idea to use that volleyball space for a sitting shade area and for, pool parties. I was working this summer. I talked to 2 business owners, and they both were talking about expansion plans for their business. One was a donut shop, and he's going to expand for just that purpose, for parties, for large gatherings. And you guys are spot on it in terms of providing that need, and then entrepreneurially thinking, let's rent it out to bring in that revenue of the cost, or to cover that cost. So great idea. I support it.
Okay, that's Jay's idea.
Oh, good idea, Jay.
Just wanted to mention that National Night Out was tremendous, and it went really well. Everything there was really interesting, and ran into Kim there.
It was, and I want to point out that one thing that I thought was really impressive about that, Homeland Security has a total of 3 mobile command units in the entire nation, and I mean every city in the U.S. does National Night Out at the same time, and we were lucky enough to have one of their 3 mobile units at our National Night Out. So.
All right. I think we're through the regular agenda. City Attorney, you have a recommended motion for us?
Yes, sir. I recommend the governing body go into closed meeting to discuss a prospective business where no previous announcement has been made of the business's interest in locating the city, and to consult with the city attorney regarding 2 legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by the city attorney, pursuant to paragraphs 5 and 7, respectively, of subsection 2.2-37(a) of the Code of Virginia.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion to go in closed meeting.
A secon.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We do a quick 3 or 4 minute bio break if that's okay, and then we'll reconvene at 08 by that clock.